Hello and welcome to the seventh episode of our series titled Sthita Prajna. As we were mentioning in the last episode, the Prajna at its highest form is called Sthita Prajna in the Bhagavad Gita. There might be higher forms of beyond this, but that is again a matter of personal experience. People talk about samadhi and ecstasy and state like that. But for ordinary folks like us, suffice it to believe that Krishna called Siddhaprajna a state of equipoise, where there is an equanimous mind state or mindset displayed by a man or a woman in various circumstances. Some very trying, compelling circumstances, at the same time, in circumstances of extreme happiness, wealth, and abundance and contentment. These are all states of experiment for the mind, for the prajna to see how one reacts to various situations in life. The Gita context presents us with extremes, extreme anxiety, extreme angst on the part of the warrior, on the part of Arjuna and his brothers and his mother. Equally anxious and equally fearsome are the opposite side armies. And then on the other side, we have Krishna standing in a perfect state of equipoise, come what may in life. This is the situation that we all covet. This is the mindset that we are all covet. And this is the goal of our lives, to attain the state of Krishna consciousness, or consciousness as exhibited by the behavior of Krishna in various contexts of his life. In yet another chapter, which may be studied along with this one, with the ninth chapter, it comes after the ninth chapter, the 12th chapter. It is titled Bhakti Yoga. Let me make it very clear right now itself that any spiritual pursuit without the aid and help of, without the accompaniment of an emotional content, an emotional state of mind, you may not reach the goal that you're after. In bhakti, according to Narada, he gives a definition that swaswaroopanusandhanam bhaktiritya. What is this anusandhanam of the swaswarupa? Anusandhanam is the constant remembrance, is the constant following, constant appraisal of self appraisal of one's own swaswarupam, the real nature. The real nature. So, what is the real nature? The real nature is the true reality that we are all seeking. The reality that, as explained, as indicated in the state of I consciousness, the changeless I that takes birth with you as if it is there before, even before your birth. It is existing in the universal cosmic consciousness. But through your birth, it becomes manifest at the individual level. At the individual level, in Vedic spiritual Vedantic term, let us call it Vyashti. The universal cosmic level of consciousness and awareness, let us call it Samashti. Again, you can just take, take note of these words, or just remember it in the back of your mind. This will help you later in the deeper studies of Vedanta and deeper studies of consciousness. In consciousness, we are talking about um, that swaswarupa. Swaswarupa as I, as the unchanging consciousness, is the deathless factor that we are all searching for. The changeless factor in a world of changes. In the sloka that this tried to study in the last episode, the last phrase is Jagat Viparivartate. Jagat Viparivartate. Jagat is in a state of constant motion, ever moving, never still. Whereas the consciousness that we are studying represents changelessness in a changeful world. It is a scientific fact that there are changeless things in existence in the cosmos. Although science has approached it only from a purely physical aspect, all changeless objects are stony, solid. But again, in spirituality and in abstract physics, change of shape can also extend to changeless states. Air, as we know, does not have a shape. Water, as we know, attains the shape of its container. But again, in pure physical states, they are shapeless, considered shapeless. But again, air is a thing in motion all the time. We feel that there is wind when with the movement of air. We see the clouds. Clouds are kind of amorphous objects floating around. But again, do they have a shape? No. Are they solid? No. They are just vaporized clouds, water vapor condensed. So, like that, we are after that changeless objects. The Gita calls it in the 12th chapter, Kudastham. Kudastham means, Kudam means an anvil. You can imagine, you may have seen an anvil in a cobbler's shop, in a cobbler's workshop. He does all kind of hammering of the while the making of shoes and sandals. He hammers on the leather sheet, keeping the leather sheet on an iron piece. That solid iron piece, which never destroys, which never gets destroyed or spoiled, is Kudatham. So, consciousness at its most palpable state of understanding is Kudatham, like the anvil. Spirituality and philosophy can give only examples, concrete examples of an abstract condition, of an abstract concept. Achalam is the next word the 12th chapter indicates. Achalam means that which does not move. Krishna just said Jagat Viparipartate. Jagat is a constant moving world, constantly moving universe, galaxies, everything included. The sun, everything, moons, and everything. But again, achalam means there is that's something which does not move. What is that? Again, back to I consciousness. It is the I that resides in all of us, each of us, and exists as a constant factor in the universal consciousness, does not move. Why? The same I that we understood as a young child, the same I that we understood as an adolescent, as a boy or a girl, the same I that we understood as a man in his 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s, the same I which does not undergo any essential change or disfiguration, is the same I that goes with you when you leave the world, when you take your last breath. And where does it go? Vedanta says that it does not go anywhere. It stays where it is and merges the individual I, which had a temporary housing or a temporary lodging in your so called body, physical body, escapes your body, and then re merges with its original home, which is the universal cosmic consciousness. This is the understanding, essential understanding of Vedanta. Once this achalam, kudastam, and yet another word Krishna introduces, the poet introduces, is dhruvam. Dhruvam, as we know, is the Sanskrit word of the pole star, the star called Polaris in astronomy. Polaris is, although it's a fallacy, Polaris is itself in motion, but again, for the sake of convenience and astronomical calculations, the mariners used this star as something as a point of reference while they travel or navigate in their cruise ships, because this is the only object in the stellar world which does not move with the rotation of the earth. The rotation of the earth causes even the stars to and planets to move, but the pole star, because its axis is along with the north and south pole of the earth, it appears that it is not a moving object. So dhruvam is another word of convenience brought in by the Bhagavad Gita in order to indicate that changeless factor, that factor X, until we discover the reality behind it, the truth behind it, the truth and the reality behind it. So the Sanniyam, in the same chapter, Krishna continues. How do we translate all these abstract points into our common behavioral existence in the earth, so that we can be successful in our transactions, we can be successful in our dealings with other people and affairs of the world. It's a Sanniyamendriya Gramam. Sanniyamendriya Gramam. Krishna calls our senses a Gramam, a city or a village of a complex structure of sensory mechanisms. We have both sensory mechanism and the motor mechanism. Sensory mechanism of the indriyas, the five indriyas and the mind, receives stimulus from the external world, passes on to the mind for processing, and the motor mechanisms in our body sends back the results as responses. It might be verbal response or physical responses or digital responses using our hands and feet. So this means Indriya Gramam is apparently under our control, but actually not. We can call ourselves controlling the Indriyas only if we apply samniyamam. Samniyamam. Samniyamam means the control, the object, the conscious, voluntary controlling of our mind, and through the mind, our sense organs. Sanniyamendira Gramam. What is the external appearance, attribute of such a man who has conquered or controlled the activities of the sense organs? We call it Sarvatra Samabuddhayaha. He has already attained halfway through to the Siddhaprajna state, equipoise state. Sarvatra. He sees Samabuddhayaha. Samabuddhayaha means even minded, like minded people. People with equipoised minds everywhere. Sarvatra. Everywhere, wherever he looks, wherever he turns, he finds only kindred souls, as we call in English, as a phrase, as an accepted idiom. The kindred souls always seek other kindred souls by natural habit, by natural forces. Sarvatra Samabuddhayaha. So, this is the external attribute of a person on the way to equipoise, on the way to perfect Sthitaprajna. And with that holy and wholesome and holistic note, let us conclude today's episode. Until we meet again, thank you very much for your time. Thank you. Namaste.